Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. This is Alex Himes with the Ruckus. It's great to be back today. It's a beautiful day here in Lexington, and I'd like to thank you all for tuning in today. Without further ado, we're going to jump right into action, and what are we talking about first? We're talking about Lonzo Ball. And is Lonzo Ball living up to the hype? So, as put by First Take Your Takes question, is Lonzo Ball living up to the hype today? I got to tell you guys, yes. Yes, in reality, Lonzo Ball is living up to the hype so far this season. I know that it's been a tumultuous year for him, especially because he's been unable to truly get his shooting back into form like he used to in college, but Lonzo is living up to expectations. Now remember, his scoring has dipped some, but that's to blame mostly for his field goal percentages being down, and this is the first time in his career, because we're really only counting like the biggest teams, that he has shooters around him and other players who are offensive talents to really balance out his abilities. So he's not going to necessarily need to score as much, meaning he won't be shooting as much, and his other statistics will slowly rise. As we can see, considering he's already averaging 10.4 points per game, 7.1 rebounds per game, and 7.1 assists per game on 33 minutes. That's insane, man. This kid is great so far. I know, honestly, and I'll admit, I have expected more myself. I had greater expectations. There was so much put on this kid from the get-go that I even built up these expectations, but that's mostly to blame for his father overshadowing him, taking all the public eye on him as opposed to his son, making sure that he brings himself in the news, whether it's with his brothers or talking about the Lakers himself, poking at Luke Walton and poking at the coaching overall. Yeah, exactly. See, Malik's behind the camera agreeing with me right now. But the biggest part also was he was assumed to fill the shoes of Magic Johnson. When you have the guy who is the greatest point guard of all time talk so highly of you and draft you and tout you as the next big player in Lakers history, yeah, there's going to be a ton of expectations. Although these expectations were great, the biggest person and the biggest critic of Lonzo Ball, and I want to start off by making it a point to say this, has been Stephen A. Smith, and he has not helped Lonzo Ball's situation at all. Stephen A. Smith has gone after Lonzo Ball so much as far to call him a bust, to say he's worried of him being a bust, and all the sort. Man, separate the father from the kid. The kid has done a great job so far, and yeah, like I've said, we've expected more from him offensively and what he's done, but this is their first year. This is the first year he's been in the NBA. His brother was arrested in China. His father is non-stop talking and interrupting and basically taking the limelight away from his career, and on top of it, he's able to maintain a level head. Have we heard once Lonzo Ball talk out of turn or become a figure in the media that gets blown out of proportion? No, we haven't seen anything like that. The only thing that we've seen from him has been these Instagram posts with him and Kyle Kuzma poking fun at each other, which I might add is hilarious. Stephen A., take a chill pill. Cool it on Lonzo. Lonzo is going to be a great player. I promise that. But while Zoe is battling and balling in Los Angeles, I want to talk about this NCAA player who's waiting his turn. That's right. The first time I'm going to be talking about the NCAA this year on the show is going to be about Marvin Bagley III. We have to. Marvin Bagley III is the next big man to clash with Joel Embiid. Let's start off with this. If I give you these stats, out of the three players, can you guess which one's Marvin Bagley's? 11.2 points per game, 8.1 rebounds per game, and 1.4 rebounds per game. 20.7 points per game, 11.2 rebounds per game, and 1.6 assists. Then 10.3 points per game, 6.7 rebounds per game, and 1.1 assists per game. Well, the order? Joel Embiid, Marvin Bagley III, and Karl Anthony Towns. Yes. Those numbers, you heard it correctly. Of all those statistics, in each of those categories, the highest was averaged by Marvin Bagley III. Yes, those numbers are the sample numbers from Joel Embiid and Karl Anthony Towns' one respective year in college, but still, this should show you something, people. Look at how those two have blossomed in the NBA. We've already talked about how Embiid is the next big wave of big men. Him and Towns really represent this new wave of big men coming in the NBA that can stretch the floor from all angles, and they can do everything both on the defensive end and offensive end. This guy is killing it, man. He's averaging a double-double in the NCAA. We haven't even seen March Madness in its fullest yet, and I'm here to tell you that this is the next big man that's going to take flight in the NBA. This guy is special. If those numbers hold up with how Towns and Embiid have progressed to Cat's stats being 21.3 points per game and 11.6 rebounds per game, and Embiid's 22.4 points per game and 9.9 rebounds per game, then Bagley III is going to be one of the best centers in the NBA. I want you to think about that. His stats right now in the NCAA are almost on par with both Cat's and Embiid's stats right now in the NBA as is. He's going to take storm in the NBA, and we have to be ready. This is the next big face in the NBA that we're seeing. And for some reason, every time I watch him play, I always think of a little bit of David Robertson in him. And it might just be me, but the build definitely is not there. But the athleticism, what he stands for on his team and what he does overall, this guy has definitely similar features as David Robertson and is going to be one of the best centers in the NBA to come. Watch it. Malik, I know you're looking at me like I'm crazy, man, but I'm telling you, it's the truth. It's the truth, buddy. Well, 2 years can change a player, like I said, but how about 5 months to recover? Well, recovering specifically from a fractured ankle. Yep, so right now we're going into the Gordon Hayward discussion. I want to put this all to rest. I want to end this. I want to end this talk at all and start off this whole talk by saying Gordon Hayward will not play a minute this season or postseason for the Boston Celtics. End of discussion, people. Don't even think about it. Don't even try and fantasize on it. It's not a reality, and it will let you down, and you'll be sad. Besides, you'll miss out on the fact that the Celtics, regardless of having Hayward or not, will end up in the NBA Finals. You heard that here. I called that. You like that? All right, so on March 2nd, the Players Tribune showed a video of Hayward performing shooting drills and progressing with his injury rehab. And he fractured his ankle on October 17th. And of course, this video sparked the conspiracy theories of claiming that he could potentially return post-All-Star break between the start of the NBA playoffs and potentially even right in the NBA playoffs itself. Well, I'm here to tell you that both Brad Stevens and Danny Ainge, yes, the GM and the head coach of the team, have come out and said Hayward will not play this season. And they shouldn't bring him back this season. There's no point in rushing the guy back from injury. What do we gain this season by bringing him back? Potential log jams at positions and getting the meshed feelings and the continuity that we've developed so far this season to disappear? What's the point? There are too many things the Celtics have accomplished this season alone that tell us that we shouldn't need to rush Hayward being back. They're already second in the East at 44-21, unfortunately, about that Houston game, which we should be 45-20, but neither here nor there. They are second in opponents' points per game scored or allowed, and first in the defensive rating. That's insane. Without their assumed, when we came into the season, best offensive player and best player overall, they are second in the East and first in defensive rating in the NBA. It's nuts. But I think the biggest thing we need to take note of, the surprise starter level production from the young guys like Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. Without Hayward going down, we would not see Jaylen Brown getting as many touches and becoming such an offensive stud as he already is, or Jason Tatum getting starting minutes, becoming a starter, and averaging the 14-15 points a game he is this season. Without this Hayward injury, we would not be able to give these rookies times to develop. And on top of it, just regular players that we still are developing. The surprise production from Greg Monroe, Morris, and as well as Terry Rozier. If the Hayward injury didn't happen, I know I can speculate all I want, but we wouldn't end up where we are this season, where we are right now. And where we are right now is a team that is going to make a deep run in the playoffs who doesn't need to mess with the continuity. The Celtics are better off letting Hayward sit. He can recover, and when he comes back, he'll mesh with the team much better, and we can go from there. And maybe when Hayward steps on the court again, the NBA will make this change that I really want to see. So, the biggest story of today, although it might not seem like the biggest, it could be a little surprise to you guys, but the biggest story of today is, should the NBA start incorporating drones? Well, I'm talking about in particular how the NBA should consider changing the way they do the jump ball to incorporate drones and remove the referee. So, the NBA has always been one of the most forward-thinking sports, incorporating advanced statistics for player evaluation. We see Hollinger's player efficiency ratings and how players are able to pick out their spots. It's changing the game. And on top of that, think about the rehabilitation processes we've seen lately. Markelle Fultz working with VR to fix his shooting. It's nuts. But the NBA lacks one big change they should make. It's time to change how they do the jump ball. let's be real. If you think about how it would be changed, all you'd have to do is have a drone set up to be potentially 10 feet above where the players meet in the circle to drop a ball. I think it sounds pretty great to me. And I think there's too many things to say, yes, do it, as opposed to why would we do that? The biggest thing, although it might seem the smallest to most people, but you remove the human element. You remove the human element. Let's just say that there's 10% of every jump ball, there is an error that could occur, such as the ref throwing it wrongly or throwing it angled or anything of the such. The NBA can eliminate that 10% by bringing in drones to drop the ball and have a jump ball. And overall, I think players would want this because it would remove having the ref in the circle, giving them more space to set up, brace themselves for jumping. I mean, it only makes sense. And by far the biggest thing of this, it gives the NBA chances for sponsorships. They get to sponsor more companies. They get to bring in more employees. I mean, it all sounds good to me. And I saw this on a Reddit thread the other day, and I thought to myself, that makes a lot of sense. Why haven't we thought of that? Well, it's just surprising to me, people. Well, before I continue through the show right now, I'd like to take a break to actually make a few announcements. I want to say happy 23rd birthday to my fraternal very good friend, David Smith. Yes, David Charles Taylor Smith. Happy birthday, my friend. Happy 23rd birthday. I wish you nothing but the best. I'm sorry that I was not able to be at the get-together this weekend. I was unfortunately dealing with the flu, as you know. But, man, I love you. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. I hope you're really enjoying being stuck at an office desk right now, and I am so glad I'm not you. Next, I'd like to say congratulations to Kobe Bean Bryant on winning the Oscar for his short deer basketball. I mean, adding an Oscar to your collection, Kobe, come on. The guy is now tied with Leonardo DiCaprio for Oscars. He is tied. How many films has Leo done? How many films has Kobe done, Malik? He's tied. He's the greatest of all time, I guess. So my last shout out I'd like to give is shout out to Larry Nance Jr. for ending Mason Plumlee's career by posterizing him to death. This was the most insane dunk I've seen all season. Yeah, exactly. Prayer hands for him. Do a prayer. 6 God for him, boy. And then right after that, pay attention. You watch the video. He Wild Wests him. Gets the guns out. Gets the guns blazing. It's just really funny and really good to watch. I mean, if you haven't seen the dunk, go watch it. It's one of the best dunks all season. But if you really just want to see something funny happen, watch his reaction after he dunks it on him. So switching from that, I think that this the drone jump ball experiment that the NBA could commit would be great. It's the first thing that could be tested very soon, and I think that one of the first places they should test it is in Houston during the playoffs this year. I mean, they might as well test it with the team who is going to be the Western Conference champions. Yeah, Malik looks real surprised right now. So yes, I'm proclaiming it right here, right now. The Rockets have convinced me that they are the favorites to come out of the Western Conference. They've convinced me. Over the past few weeks, I've been watching more Rockets games than I probably should. In that time, they managed to convince me that they are the best team suited to dethrone the Warriors and come out of the West to face my Celtics, of course. They're perfectly rounded on both ends of the court. They figured it out. They have the most lethal, cold-blooded player in the game who I have only seen this attribute shared by one other player, and that player was Kobe Bean Bryant himself. This player that they have is James Harden. He has that killer instinct. He is a cold-blooded killer and now has a point guard who can score and pass it when needed. They have perfectly figured out how to space this team and put it together perfectly, led by James himself. And I got to tell you, when you're averaging 31.2 points per game, 5.2 rebounds per game, 8.9 assists per game, 1.9 steals per game on 33 minutes a night, with Chris Paul, after a season that you looked like an MVP and almost averaged MVP numbers. Or a triple-double, I should say. This guy is living it up. He has maintained the steam that he had last year, adjusted to bringing in an all-star point guard who commands the ball just as much as he does on the offensive end, and has managed to make it work seamlessly. The Rockets look great. I mean, this summer, I came on this show and gave my prediction saying that Houston would have troubles mixing Harden and Paul. But that's mostly because I resent the fact that they signed him. I don't like Chris Paul. That is my personal opinion. I love James Harden, though, and I didn't want to see his game suffer. But I thought that his game would suffer because James would go from being a point guard like he did last season, averaging almost a triple-double, to bringing in a guy who will take the ball away from him would make him worse or hinder him offensively. Well, I was wrong. I admit it, I was flat out wrong, because what they're doing offensively is beautiful. They have a carousel of three-point shooters, lethal shooters all around. One guy in the paint who's this skinny dude that gets statistically bounced because of this. And now Clint Capella looks like a statistical animal, killing it in the NBA right now with over 11 rebounds per game. I mean, it's nuts. They've managed to do what teams want to do. They have copied the Golden State body and applied it and added quicker shooters. I think compared to the Warriors, they're younger, they're quicker, and they have more shooters to surround these guys with. It's beautiful. Their offense and their defense is just working perfectly, hence why they're first in offense in the NBA and eighth in defense in the NBA. And I got to see it up close and personally against my Celtics. You think I liked that? Hell no. But still, the Rockets are my favorite to come out of the Western Conference. They're just too good, people. And when you're back in the East, I'm praying for someone in particular. Who? I'm praying for the Charlotte Bobcats. And why? Charlotte Hornets, sorry. I'm praying for them to sign Mitch Kupchak. So you last heard of Mitch Kupchak as the general manager with the Los Angeles Lakers from 2017. He was there through the Shaq years, through the Gasol years, did a great job, won 5 rings with the Lakers as he was their GM. And unfortunately, he got let go with Jim Buss because Jim Buss was pulling the strings. Yes, I'm not going to entirely blame Jim Buss, but a lot of it is that he got dragged down and really, for lack of a better term, screwed because of the situation, for making erroneous trades such as Steve Nash, and for making detrimental free agent signings like Mozgov, Dang, and Nick Young's ridiculous contract. I mean, the guy was kind of tied. He did what he had to do, and especially with the free agents that weren't willing to come, you have to spend more on B guys when the A guys aren't willing to come through. Mitch is deserving of a GM job in the NBA, and Charlotte would be smart to take him off the market before someone else does. So good luck to you, Mitch Kupchak. I'm wishing for you. And good luck to the Charlotte Hornets, because clearly they need to change something up, because they're considering trading Kemba Walker. Right, Malik? Yeah. So the last thing I'd like to talk to you about today is why we aren't talking about the Portland Trail Blazers enough. Why? It doesn't make sense to me. But when you think about it, it kind of does, sadly. They're third in the West right now at 37-26 and fifth in the NBA overall. They're doing great. They really are. But if you look at the teams above and below them conference-wise, you'll notice something. Those teams have names attached to them. They have coaches who are well known. Not saying that Terry Stotts isn't unknown, but he's just not a big known figure in the NBA as some of these other coaches. He's not as high profile. It doesn't help that they're in a super small market in a Western Conference where you have big name personalities on almost every team in every other city that's usually in a bigger market. I love these Trailblazers. I love what they're doing, but they just don't get enough credit because they only have one All-Star, and other than that, they really, compared to the rest of the conference, they're lacking. Let's be real. They're playing great style basketball, similarly what the Celtics are doing, where they have everyone playing a key integral role and doing it at their best of their abilities. They have made a system that works for them where they chuck out Damian Lillard and CJ McCollum with these other guys around them, and they're doing a great job at third in the West. And we need to start giving them the respect that they deserve. They have the 6th toughest schedule left in the association. So they're going to be playing some great and interesting basketball down the next couple of weeks, and they're my team to watch for the rest of the time going into the playoffs, especially with the fact that they aren't getting the credit that they deserve. They have Lillard and McCollum, who rank in the top 35 players in crunch time minutes. Of course, McCollum being higher than Lillard, but these guys are great together. They play exciting, up-tempo basketball on a great team that's very well coached. We need to give them respect, and I wish that we could. And Max Kellerman said it best this morning on First Take, where we know where they are. We give them the respect that they deserve, but we know what they are. We do know what they are, and I do feel that we need to give them a little bit more respect, but it's just hard comparing them to other teams in their conference who have 4 or 5 names that we can all put on a team and a coach that we probably name. I sympathize for them, and I wish them nothing but the best in the playoffs. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that is the last of what I have to discuss today. I'd like to thank you all for tuning in to the Ruckus today. It's been a pleasure. Don't forget to check out my Facebook and YouTube page at Alexander Himes to catch the full update on the show and what's going on and the behind-the-scenes facts, features, and whatnot. And then also check out my Instagram at HimesWorld for behind-the-scenes takes, show clips, and what goes on in my daily life. Have a great one, ladies and gentlemen. We'll see you soon, Lexington.